what if you find yourself in a work situation where you have to choose to either let it go of your beliefs to achieve a goal or to keep it up with them, but most probably fail? My first work was at Volvo in Brazil, just after graduation. Do you know when you leave graduation, when you leave the college and you are like full of energy, ready to change the world, you're just great and you want to achieve everything, you are in like that high energy? So yes, I was absolutely no different than that. Few years passed by and I was invited to work in Sweden. And I was so excited about that. I just packed my things and went to Sweden. Well, that same Andrea just told you a few minutes ago that was full of energy, engaged, ready to change the world, landed in Sweden. So you can imagine that that was not exactly going according to my expectations when I realized that the environment, the work environment, the tempo in the work environment in Sweden, it's a bit slower than that. So I had to adjust a little bit. Well, I'll try to illustrate that a little bit, giving you an example of a situation I had to face there. So a few weeks after I start working, my manager came to me and asked, Andrea, we do need to have an implementation plan ready. I thought, well, all right, no big deal. Can do it by the end of the week, no big deal. Done this before. He kind of had a smile in his face and laughed. I didn't quite get why he smiled. What I realized then was that I thought I need information from some of my colleagues. So we'll pay them a visit. I think it's easier, it's quick. Brazilians like this relationship thing quite a lot. So I thought it's easier that I go there, visit them, and ask for what I wanted to be able to prepare my plan than to actually send an email or anything like that. So what I did is that I paid a visit. That was my first mistake. Most of them didn't present a very welcoming face. It was more like, what are you doing here? I'm working. And most of them told me, send an email instead with your request. Okay. I sent them the emails as they requested. And when I sent those, the most common answer I got back was, let's book a meet and discuss. You can imagine my frustration. And then I thought to myself again, gosh, which part of the boss is asking you are not getting? Aren't you afraid of losing this job? What's wrong with these people? The background of my comment is that also in Brazil, the unemployment rates are quite high. So you really want to be at your best at the office, because if you're not, somebody else will take your position very easily. So whatever the boss asks for something, you just do it. You don't question, you just do it. And that was my second mistake, to assume that it would be the same in Sweden. They have a pretty stable environment, and they are not that afraid as we are in Brazil. All right. So then I went through the painful process of booking meetings with the Swedes. I bet few of you will relate to me now. I could not book any meeting any short time. I had to actually, they were fully booked for the next coming weeks. And I just thought to myself, oh my God, I need to wait like 2-3 weeks just to tell them what I need. So you can imagine my frustration. But I went according to the process. I did what they asked me to. And about 10 meetings later and 2 months later, I actually got the implementation plan. And then I kind of understood the smile that my manager had in my face, in his face. You can imagine, this is just to illustrate the frustration I was getting in Sweden. The feeling of frustration was really growing strong on me. So strong that at one point I started cursing Swedes. And then I thought to myself, it's such a small country, and they have so many great things coming from it. There might be something good about the way they do things here. So Andrea, you actually have 2 choices. Either you keep frustrated like that, or you go back home. You have to either adapt or go back home. I would not keep it up with that frustration any longer. And then I decided to give it a try and adapt. It was a very, very, very pleasant experience. What I realized is that suddenly life was so much better and easy. I just was, my expectations when it comes to things to be accomplished were a bit longer in the right level according to their time available. I also started to plan and work in that way. And that's so good because I knew then what time do I have to my family, what time do I have to meet friends, to go to the gym, to have vacation. So all of that was just great. And then I said, that sparked my curiosity. What else can I learn from these people now, right? So it was just great. Life was much better and easier then. And I learned a lot. I was working in an area that was responsible to implement a common process and systems around the world. So that means that whatever Volvo has a market, we were supposed to go there and implement that. You can imagine that I traveled around the world with that. And that was a pretty cool job, demanding, but pretty cool. And no different than that, a few years after this experience or transition to Sweden, our manager again come and say like, Andrea, we need to go to Morocco. We have a market company there and they are interested in our process. So cool, I've never been to Morocco. That's just gonna be great. So me and a colleague, we used to work, to travel together to do this gap analysis and implementation plan. We did pack our things and plan for the visit. While planning for the visit, though, some people at the office advised me that being a female visiting Morocco, I should be aware of certain things and get prepared. So they actually recommended me to wear like loose clothes, long, so I don't show parts of my body, only my face and my hands. And if I leave the office for any reason or the hotel, that I should most probably have a man with me, so I would avoid unnecessary situations or experiences. And I thought I was okay. I thought, great, I know what I am expecting there. I also know that I'm going to a Volvo office, so it's a safe environment, right? We should have a Volvo way implemented there, so no big deal, I got this. And then we went to this trip. It was supposed to be, it was me and my colleague, it was supposed to be a 2-day meeting. We were there meeting 2 colleagues from the Morocco office, and everything was just great. First day, we went to the office. After the initial greetings, we were get settled into the meeting room. We grabbed ourselves some coffees, and we started the meeting. That first day, my colleague was supposed to start the meeting, and everything was just going according to plan. So we had the meeting, it was just great. We went off for dinner afterwards. It was also very good. Everybody was pleased. Everything was just perfect. So the second day, though, I was the one to be presenting that day. That was my part of the meeting. As occurred the day before, we got settled into the meeting room, and then I kicked off the meeting. What I realized, though, is that the guys were not really paying attention on what I was saying. And I said, maybe it's too early. What about some coffee? So we grabbed ourselves a little bit of coffee, and I continued that. Still, they were not paying attention. Actually, they're not paying attention at all. And then I thought, maybe I need to change my strategy while presenting. Maybe I should start interact with them. So I'll make some questions. As I was presenting and making some questions, the only thing I could hear from them was like, no, 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 this doesn't work here. No, 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 this doesn't work here. I heard that about 10 times. And then 2 hours later, I just realized that we need a break. This is going nowhere. So I called for a break, and I can still remember till today how that felt. Because I was basically, we left the meeting room. There was a coffee machine just outside the room. I look at the coffee machine, I grab myself a cup of coffee, and I thought, while waiting for the coffee to be ready, I was just like, is this really happening? Or if this is really happening, is that because of my gender? I was so frustrated. I don't know if you ever had the feeling of being ignored, but that's an awkward feeling. And I had that cup with me. I looked to the window. outside and just start thinking like, how dare them to not pay attention what I'm saying? Who do they think they are? I can show to them that I can be even better than what they can be. And I was really like, I'm going to show to them I can be better than men. But then that frustration grows so strong. And immediately I was looking at the window with that cup in my head and just thought to myself, come on, Andrea, you know better now. That feeling of frustration brought me back to my Swedish experience when adapting there. And I learned there the hard way that we need to adapt. And I thought to myself, not in a world I will change how they believe or their beliefs here with this one-day meeting. So instead, I asked my colleague to just take over my piece of the presentation and continue the work. And so we did. He took over, he finished the presentation, and everything was just great. We just finished the way it was supposed to in the end. Back in Sweden, talking about the experience with few colleagues at the office, they actually asked me, why did you do that, Andrea? Why did you accept that situation? You should have fought it. You should have been in front of it. It's their problem if they don't like women or if they do not accept women in that perspective. And then I thought to myself, yeah, that's a good question. But I believe that the situations and circumstances do not really define us. And the fact that I left my belief aside for a little moment to be able to let that work doesn't mean that I left that for good either. It's not about giving up as well. It's just about maybe giving a step back, gain their respect and trust, and then maybe move forward. And if I had forced my way at that point, what would probably have happened is that we would need more meetings, and that day meeting would be lost. It's just you're losing time. So nobody really gains with it if I had forced myself into that. That's why I did it. So what I want to tell you as a conclusion is that I really want to encourage you to be aware about your environment and identify that you can adapt when you can't influence the situation. In other words, if you want to be successful, you adapt. If you can't influence, and in the end of the day, what I'm just trying to say is that choose your battles. Thank you.